Hey, what's up YouTube? Saf here on Super Saf TV, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the specs of the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 to the Sony Xperia Z1. Now both of these devices were announced yesterday and they've got some of the highest specs in the market right now. But how do they compare? What are the key differences between these two? Well, do hit that thumbs up button and let's find out in this head-to-head spec comparison. So initially starting off with the size, the Sony Xperia Z1 is a slightly smaller 7.2mm in terms of height, 5.2mm in terms of width, only slightly thicker, 0.2mm thicker, so it is a smaller device. But the reason for that is because it's got a smaller screen. It's got a 5-inch screen compared to the 5.7-inch screen on the Note 3. Now this is quite impressive to see that the Note 3, although it's not massively bigger, it does have quite a larger screen, and that's because the bezels around the Note 3 are quite thin, and it's quite impressive to see that they've got a 5.7-inch screen within these dimensions. Now in terms of resolution, both of these have a full 1080p display, 1920 by 1080, but because the Xperia Z1 does have a smaller screen, you've got more pixels within a smaller space, so it's got 441 ppi pixel density, whereas the Note 3 has roughly about 386 ppi. So generally speaking, images, video and text are going to be looking a little bit more sharper on the Z1. You may not notice a huge deal of difference at that resolution, but definitely the Z1 has a slight edge in terms of the PPI. Another thing to also note is that the Z1 has triluminous technology, I believe that's how it's pronounced, and this is an improvement on the Xperia Z, which didn't have great viewing angles, so hopefully that's now improved. Now in terms of the weight, the Xperia Z1 is very slightly heavier, 2 grams. Now this does come down to the build somewhat. The Note 3 is plastic, but it's got a leather style material, so it does feel like leather, and it's got fine stitching as well. They've really gone for that notebook look, so that's quite nice to see. Now with the Xperia Z1, you've got an aluminium frame with scratch resistant glass on the front and the back, so arguably more premium materials are used on the Z1 here. It's also water and dust resistant, IP58 water and dust resistant. Now this is really great. A lot of these Sony devices now have this feature, and if you do drop some water over it, or if you drop it in a puddle or something, you're not going to have to worry, whereas with most of the other devices, especially the price that you're paying, you do have that concern in mind. The Z1 is also available in black, white and purple versions. Now the Note 3, you've got the black, white, you've got a pink version as well. Now, those are the default versions, but you do have a removable and changeable back, and Samsung have got a whole variety of different back covers that you can change on the Note 3. Now in terms of the processors, both are quite similar here. They both have a Snapdragon 800 processor, and you've got different clock speeds on here. Quad core 2.3 GHz versus quad core 2.2 GHz. Both have the same GPU as well. Now for the Note 3, this is the LTE version. The Note 3 is also going to be coming in a 1.9 GHz octa-core version for the 3G only markets. Now in terms of performance, I would expect them to be quite similar because of the similar internals that they've got here. The RAM, however, the Note 3 does have 3 GB of RAM versus 2 GB on the Z1. Now the Note 3 does have advanced multitasking features, which we'll be talking about a little bit later, and the RAM's really going to come in use for that. Now in terms of the different storage options available, the Z1 only has the 16 GB version. The Note 3, you've got the 32 and 64 GB versions, but both of these do have expandable storage, micro SD up to 64 GB. Now this is great to see on both of these devices, because it's something that we're seeing a lot less of on some of the other major devices out there. Now looking at the cameras, this is very interesting. Starting off with the Note 3, you've got a 13 megapixel camera. It's pretty much identical to the S4. Now I have been using the S4 quite a bit, and there's lots of comparisons on my channel with other devices. It's a very good camera, especially in good light. In low light, it's not so great, and that's something that the Z1 is supposed to be really good at. It's got a larger sensor size compared to most of the smartphones out there, the same sensor size as most compact point and shoots out there. So firstly, you're going to get high resolution, so you've got 20.7 megapixels, so a much higher resolution on here, and also low light performance is going to be really good because of that larger sensor size. The larger the sensor, the more light you're going to be able to capture in there, which is absolutely great and really impressive to see. It also has superior auto mode, so generally speaking on your smartphone, you usually just pull it out on auto and you take an image, and this hopefully will be giving you better results because it's going to be able to detect the scene a little bit better compared to other smartphones. The Note 3 does have some of the S4 camera features, so you've got drama shot, sound in shot, dual shot as well as believe. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I do believe it's also got dual shot. Now moving on to video, the Z1 has 1080p at 30 frames a second from the rear facing camera, and you've also got HDR video, so you've got nice dynamic range on videos as well as images on the Z1. The Note 3, now this is quite interesting. You've got 1080p at 30 frames a second for the 3G model, but the LTE model, you've got 1080p at up to 60 frames a second, and you've also got 4K recording, Ultra HD, 2160p, and that's absolutely insane. That on a smartphone is just another level, and it's really pushing the boundaries there. Now it's arguable whether you need that resolution on a smartphone, because most screens out there are only 1080p. You've not got 4K. 4K is not fully settled in yet, but definitely a nice feature to have. Similar front facing cameras on both of these devices here, 1080p at 30 frames a second and 2 megapixels. Now both of these are running Android Jelly Bean 4.3 out of the box on the Note 3. The Z1 has 4.2.2, so you've got a new version of Android on the Note 3. Now they both have their skins on top, TouchWiz UI, Samsung's TouchWiz UI on the Note 3, and on the Sony Xperia Z1, I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but you've got the Sony skin that's on top of Android as well. Now in terms of the additional features, the Note 3 does have that S Pen that's not available on a lot of other devices out there, and it's got some advanced features. You can circle images and web pages and videos, and you can directly put them into a scrapbook, which is quite interesting. And the most useful feature that I think is the multi-window options, so you can actually draw out a box and you can get a window of another app on top of the existing app. And this is what I was talking about, the RAM. It's really going to be able to take advantage of that. And you can also open the same app in multiple windows, so you could be chatting to two people within the same app on two separate windows at the same time, and you can also transfer files between these two as well. So that's really great to see. The Xperia Z1 does not have a pen feature, but one of the key features that they've been talking about is Info Eye. Now what Sony have done is they've partnered with lots of different companies such as Amazon, and what you're going to be able to do is, say for instance, take an image of a book, and the details of that book are going to come straight up overlaid onto your screen, and you can go ahead and buy that and things like that. So that's quite interesting to see as well. Now the batteries, you've got 3200 milliamp battery, which is removable on the Note 3. On the Z1 you've got 3000 milliamp battery, which is not removable. So you've got an advantage here on the Note 3. Firstly, a higher milliamp battery, and it's also removable, so you can carry on with a spare or replace it altogether. Performance wise, we'll have to see these side by side, but these are larger than most of the other devices out there, so generally speaking they're going to get you through the day with some good usage. Now in terms of the price, the Note 3 price has been confirmed, £650 it will be for in the UK, and I'd expect it to be roughly about $750 to $800 in the US. The Xperia Z1, you're going to be looking at roughly between £550 to £600 here in the UK, or roughly between $650 to $700 in the US. So the Z1 is slightly cheaper than the Note 3, and both of these are going to be available late September, early October time. So those were the key differences between these two devices. Both have their advantages. The Z1 is water and dust proof, and it's also got that 20.7 megapixel camera with that amazing sensor, whereas the Note 3 has advanced multitasking, more RAM, and also that 4K video recording. I do think it comes down to personal preference. Both are really good. Which do you prefer? Which one would you go for? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, as always, please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. And why not subscribe to the channel? I've got plenty more content coming up in here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time. If you want to see more regular videos like this one, then be sure to hit the subscribe button, which will be below. If you're on a mobile device, it may be somewhere else. If you want to see my previous related video, then hit the link right here. If you want to stay in touch over Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, then all of the addresses will be there somewhere, as well as direct links in the description below.